Matthew chapter 25, looking specifically at verses 14 through 30. Matthew 25, verses 14 through 30. And the Word of God reads, "Again, it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received the 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. 'Master,' he said, 'you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more.' His master replied, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness.' The man with 2 bags of gold also came. 'Master,' he said, 'you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more.' His master replied, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness.' Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. 'Master,' he said, 'I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you.' His master replied, 'You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping, gnashing of teeth." Today I just want to talk to you on the subject, to whom much is given. To whom much is given. And I'm going to go ahead and preface this like this. I really just want to talk to you today. So if this seems like a dialogue, then forgive me, but there are some things that we need to have a conversation about. In the mid-1970s, Ronald Wayne was a man who stood at the brink of something brand new. However, Ronald wasn't a young man. Ronald wasn't what you would consider a risk taker. Truth be told, Ronald wasn't even a dreamer. Ronald was what many people considered and called the quote-unquote adult in the room when it came to money. While other entrepreneurs were talking about vision, he was busy reading contracts. While they were chasing different possibilities, he was counting liabilities. See, Ronald had already been burned once in business, and he promised himself that it would never happen again. One day, two younger men came to him with an idea. It was an unpolished idea. It was a risky idea. It was loud and screaming with possibility. Unfortunately, they didn't have any money to fund the idea. They didn't have the stability that Ronald often looked for in new businesses. But they had a brilliant idea. Those two men were Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak were dreamers. They were tech-heavy individuals. They believed that computers were something that every person should have access to in their homes. However, to their dismay, they weren't businessmen. They didn't understand the ins and outs of building a business. So they asked Ronald to do what they could not, help them to build a business. They wanted Ronald to write the legal documents, to structure the partnership and kind of legitimize this dream that they had. And Ronald was good. He did a great job at it. As a matter of fact, he did so well that they made him a founding partner of the Apple Computer Company. For his work in simply doing what LegalZoom does for many of us today, they gave him 10% ownership of the company. Not a salary, not a bonus, 10% ownership. However, as soon as the company began to move, the reality of starting a new company started to set into Ronald's mind. Creditors started circling around, looking for their return on investment. The debt for the company was increasing by the day, and their personal liability in the company was a real threat. And here was the problem. If this new Apple Computer Company failed, then the two younger men, Jobs and Wozniak, could just walk away and start over again. Yeah. But Ronald was an older man. He had assets. He had a reputation. He actually had something to lose. So instead of taking the risk, Ronald did what seemed to be, at that point in time, the responsible thing, the safe thing, the reasonable thing to do. 12 days, not even a full 2 weeks after the company was started, Ronald walked away. He sold his entire stake, 10% of Apple, for $800. $800. There were no lawsuits. There was no betrayal. There was no scandal. Just fear dressed up as wisdom. Years passed. And ironically enough, that small, risky company didn't fail. It didn't stall. You can't even say that it survived. It exploded. It changed how we in the world communicate today. It changed how the world works, and it changed how the world thinks. Today, that same 10% stake that Ronald had would be worth over $100 billion. Now here's the thing, Ronald didn't lose any money. He didn't waste an opportunity. He didn't make a foolish decision by human standards. For all intents and purposes, Ronald really made the safe choice. He simply buried what had been entrusted to him and chose not to take a risk. However, sometimes taking a risk with what you've been entrusted with leads to more gains than you could ever imagine. In the text before us today, we see a prime example of the rewards of taking a risk. Here we have before us the parable of the talents. We all know this story. A wealthy man, is going on a journey. Before he leaves on this journey, he entrusts 3 of his servants with 3 different amounts of money. To one he gives 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags of gold, and to the last servant he gives 1 bag of gold. While he's gone, the servant with the 5 bags invests his money and makes 5 more bags. The servant with 2 bags invests his money and makes 2 more bags. However, the servant with 1 bag buries the gold out of fear that the master would take whatever he receives from investing. When the master returns, the first 2 servants happily show him what they received from their investments. And for being faithful stewards, he offers them more than what they received initially. Nevertheless, the last servant brings back the 1 bag of gold that he initially receives, and he has nothing else. For burying his bag of gold, the master punishes the servant. He takes his bag of gold and he gives it to the other servant and even throws him out into the darkness. It's a unique tale. It's a famed parable. On its surface level, it's a prime example for us of how we should be good stewards. However, on a deeper level, it helps us to comprehend how God understands stewardship and investments. Not simply financial investments, but those things that God has invested, those things he's entrusted in us. And when you really think about it, God has entrusted us with things that can actually bring financial gain. However, on the flip side, he's also entrusted us with things that are far more valuable than money. Things such as peace and comfort don't have a price tag on it. You can't find that on Amazon. Nevertheless, for God, they are investments that he's entrusted us with. And since he's entrusted us with them, we ought to be good stewards of them as well. Nevertheless, and needless to say, from this text, we're able to come to one statement that helps us to comprehend God's understanding of stewardship. And that truth is this: God expects us to faithfully and wisely take risks with what he's entrusted us with. Simply stated, God did not entrust us with blessings so that we can bury them in the sand. God didn't give you blessings to hide. He gave you blessings to use. At the outset of the text, we see a simple message that God only gives us what we're capable of managing. The size of the gift depends on the size of the steward. Your assignment matches your abilities. It's simple. In the text, we see that the wealthy man calls his servants in and gives them all different amounts of gold. Nevertheless, the text says that the wealthy man gives them each an amount according to their ability. In other words, the man who receives 5 bags is capable of managing 5 bags. The man with 2 bags is capable of managing 2 bags. And the man with 1 is only capable of managing 1 bag. Now, unfortunately for us, there's no background information for these men. Nevertheless, we can come to this one fact, that if these men are said to be servants in the household of the wealthy man, then obviously the wealthy man has seen how they serve in his household. So the man gives them what they're capable of handling based on what he's seen them handle in the household. Apparently, the man with the 5 bags must have proven himself to be quite resourceful because he received the most resources. The man who receives 1 bag must have proven that he couldn't be trusted with a lot. That's easy to understand. You've got children. You know what they're capable of handling and what they're not capable of handling simply based on how you've seen them handle things around your house. But here's the catch for most of us. Most of us think that we're more capable than what we really are. However, here's a hard truth that you have to accept. What you have right now is based on what God knows you're capable of handling. If it's in your hands, then God trusts you with it. However, in the same breath, if it's not in your hands, then God don't trust you with it. Sidebar. Maybe that's why God hasn't answered that prayer yet. Maybe God hasn't given you what you asked him for, not because he can't give it, but because you can't handle it. You've asked God to give you more money, more finances, but it hasn't shown up yet. Maybe it's because you haven't proven yourself with what he's already given you. You want millions, but you failing to handle thousands. God ain't gonna give you what you're incapable of managing. You've asked God for a spouse, but they haven't shown up yet. Maybe it's because you haven't proven yourself with what he's already given you. You want a wife, but you're struggling to keep a girlfriend. I'm in the text. God ain't gonna give you what you're incapable of managing. You ask God to bless your business idea, but it hasn't manifested yet. Maybe it's because you haven't proven yourself with what you already have. You want to start your own business, but you're struggling to get to work on time. Stewardship. God ain't going to give you what you're incapable of managing. God blesses us. God gives to us according to our abilities. God ain't going to give you what you ain't ready for. I'm sorry, that's in the text. And here's the real heartbreaking part. You can't even be mad at God because you do that to your children. Your son is more mature than your daughter, so he has a later curfew than your daughter. His curfew is midnight, hers is 11 o'clock. You entrusted them with what they were capable of managing. You give your daughter a new car, but your son, he got the hand-me-down. You entrusted them with what they were capable of managing. You let one of your your children go to college 3 states away, but the other one got to stay home and go to that JUCO. You entrusted them with what they're capable of managing. And if you're able to make those type of decisions with your children, then why do you assume that God is going to be any different with you? Your assignment matches your ability. But thankfully, there's good news. For secondly, we see that God will give you an increase once he sees that you've increased. God doesn't increase what's buried. He increases what's invested. If you show God that you can increase, then maybe he'll send you an increase. I'm in the text. In the text, when the man returns, the servants all show up with their results. The servant with the 5 bags of gold shows up, and now he has 10 bags. So the man tells him, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share in your master's happiness. Then the second servant shows up. He was just given 2 bags, and he shows up with 2 more bags. So the man tells him the same thing that he told the first servant. 2 faithful servants, 2 returns on their investment. But here's the part that I never caught, and I hope you saw this in the text. The wealthy man never takes back what he gave them. Naturally, we assume that the man gets his investments back. But that isn't what the text says. The text says that he congratulates them and increases their responsibility. Sidebar. God does not want his investments back from you. God wants to see what can you do with I've invested in you. God isn't looking for a return or a reward. He's looking for growth. God is not after your profit. He's after your progress. But why is that? I know if I let somebody borrow some money, and they come back with double of what I gave them, then at the very least, I'm going to look to get back what I gave. Why isn't God looking for a reward on his investments? Well, I'm glad you asked. Maybe it's because God values growth and not gains. Think about it like this. The 2 servants are still just that. 2 servants. And whatever growth they accumulate, the man naturally inherits because they work for him. In a higher, heavier, and holier manner, that's how God views our growth. If we grow, then his kingdom grows because we're made better through his investments. God doesn't need what you gain. He needs to see that you've grown. God celebrates who you're becoming more than what you're collecting. God's not counting coins. He's collecting characteristics. When you get that promotion at your job, God is more concerned with how you lead than how much you earn. Because God can do more with your leadership skills than he can do with your bank ledger. When you settle down and decide to get married, God is more concerned with how you love than how big the wedding is. Because God can do more with your maturity than he can do with your matching outfits and your perfect pictures and the nice things that you have. When God blesses you with children, he's more concerned with who you model than what you provide. Because God can do more with the example that you set than he can do with your ability to pay bills. When God increases your income, he's more concerned with how you steward your money than with how you spend it. Because God can do more with faithfulness than he can do with figures in a bank. When God brings you through a storm, he's more concerned with who you have become than what you have survived. Because God can do more with your growth than he can do with your story. God doesn't need what you've gained. He needs how you've grown. God isn't impressed by your increase. He's invested in your integrity. What you gain may fade, but what you grow will last. And growth is heaven's return on God's investment. Lastly, though, and I'm going to my seat. I told you I just want to talk to you for a little bit. This was the hardest truth of them all. We see that God punishes those who don't invest what they've been entrusted with. God holds you accountable for what you refuse to steward. God will take back what you consistently neglect. What you refuse to use, you'll eventually lose. I'm in the text. In the text, the last servant comes and he tells the man, look, I hid what you gave me because I know that you harvest where you don't plant and you gather where you haven't laid down seeds. So here's what you gave me. The man tells the servant, look, you wicked and lazy servant, you knew how I operated. You knew how I handled business over here, and you chose to do nothing. You could have at least put the money in the bank and got the return on the investment that way. But since you did nothing with it, take the bags from him and give it to the man with the 10 bags and then put him out in the dark. A peculiar exchange. It's almost frightening because it automatically makes you wonder, Lord, what investments have I hid in the ground? However, there was one part that stuck out to me. You gotta read the text. The wealthy man didn't take the bag of gold from the servant. In all honesty, the servant offered it to him. Yeah. The wealthy man didn't force the servant to give it back. The servant forfeited it. And this made me wonder, Lord, how many investments have I forfeited? How much has God entrusted in me that I've simply given back to him out of fear of risking? Lord, help me. What does a forfeited investment look like? Gonna mess you up. You're a gifted communicator. You actually taught for several years in the public school setting, but we can't get you to lead Sunday school or even volunteer to teach the kids one Sunday a month. That's a forfeited investment. You can sing. You might even play a musical instrument or two, but we can't even get you to show up for choir rehearsal because you're too busy with life. That's a forfeited investment. You've got project management skills. You actually manage timelines and budgets at your job, but we can't help you to get to plan out an event for the church. That's a forfeited investment. You work with your hands. You're actually a skilled carpenter, but we can't get you to fix any other cosmetic issues around the church without you asking, well, how much you gonna pay me? That's a forfeited investment. You're a counselor by trade. You actually work as a counselor in the school, but you won't sit down with these children who are right there around you and ask them about the issues that they have going on in life. That is a forfeited investment. You tech savvy. You got a degree in the field, but we can't even get you to help with the audio-visual background to make sure that things are operating smoothly for the worship. That's a forfeited investment. You're a business-savvy person. You're actually really good at managing money, but we can't get you to serve on the finance committee. We can't get you to be a trustee. That's a forfeited investment. Here's a heartbreaking truth. The kingdom does not suffer because of lack of gifts. It suffers from forfeited investments, unused investments. And here's what the text teaches us. If you're not going to use it, you might as well do like the servant and just give it back and go sit in the dark. Well, I'm done. For some odd reason, God has me in a teaching mode. I like this. I feel like I'm in a classroom. I used to sweat like this teaching them lessons. And the warm-up for today is... no hooping, no hollering, just talking and teaching. But I think there are some hard truths that we've got to face, and we don't need the glitz and glamour of preaching it to realize it. Sometimes we need to be taught these truths. Truth be told, on today, I wanted to talk about financial investing. I was talking about stewardship. I want to talk about what do you do with your money. I'm still in that vein for some odd reason. I wanted to use this text to talk about investing your money. But then God told me, this text ain't about money. It's about investing what's been entrusted in you. God has given us all something that we can use to further the kingdom. To some of us, he's given 5 things that we can use. To some, he's given 2, and to others, just 1. My prayer is that we all will use what he's entrusted in us to invest in the kingdom he's provided for us. Yes, sir. And I'm not talking about the kingdom of heaven, no. I'm talking about the kingdom of God. The kingdom we live in currently. Here's the question. Will you take a risk and invest what he's entrusted in you? Or will you simply forfeit and allow the kingdom to suffer? The choice is yours, but remember this, like the title said, to whom much is given, much is required. And since God has given you so much, I pray that you invest it.